What's good, everybody? It's your boy Batman, and we got another reaction video for Naruto. And this video is going to actually be interesting. It's a topic that I'm eventually going to have my own video on. Now, remind you, when I do video reactions to things, guys, it's basically me reacting to what's being discussed in the video and what they're stating. Doesn't mean 9 times out of 10 my responses to it are either correct or if that's actually how I truly feel about the topic of the video or whatever the case may be. Meaning, therefore, until I actually do the homework and do the research of my own and actually analyze everything, and then I'm able to build a conclusion, those type of videos are the ones where like, hey, no, this is this, A, B, and C, or 2 plus 2 equals 4, okay? So unless it's like, you know, me doing the video, like, of could, you know what I mean, like Minato actually defeat the Akatsuki, and it's my video with I'm discussing the evidence, you name it, whatever. That's a whole other different thing. 9 times out of 10, that's legit. I actually mean it. I did the homework, you name it, whatever. When I'm reacting, you guys gotta remember, my memory is not perfect. And overall, I'm just going off from what I do remember and what I'm familiarized. And what's obviously being presented in the video. So, and as you can tell, you know, with just that type of knowledge, you know, can limit basically my sense of morality basically my sense of understanding of whether or not if I either fully agree or disagree and etc. If that makes any sense to you guys. So overall, like, for instance, like, I could watch this video and from what I see in the video and from my memory, I could be like, oh yeah, hell yeah, Minato bodies them all. But then when I actually do my research and analyze, you name it, yada yada, I'm like, wait a minute. Nah, I think he loses. You see what I'm saying? So overall, my mentality and things, my understanding of things could always change. Doesn't mean it's permanent. That's just something for you all to put, just for you to know at least, at the very least. So, but we're gonna watch this video because this video actually is really appealing because Seth and Swag had a video of like, could Madara defeat the whole Akatsuki, and then this video is like, could Minato defeat all the Akatsuki? So it's really interesting. So we're gonna get into it and let's watch it. I believe Six is also in this video, so your boy Six. This guy's is fucking everywhere, to be honest. And then who is actually the one that posted the video, he's called MJxTV. I've never actually seen any of his videos until now. But he clearly is a Dragon Ball fan, and he has a lot of videos. Well, not a lot, but he has a good amount of videos on here. You know, so it's some interesting stuff. I've never seen any of these videos personally. But it's pretty cool, and he has about like almost 30,000 subscribers. So yeah, you guys can check him out. I'll make sure to put his account down the link in description down below. But other than that, you know, we're going to get into it. We're going to react, and make sure to check him out if you like his stuff. So support him. Any help goes a long way. So, and let's get to the video, and let's see what's going on here. I like the intro. That was pretty badass. I like that.
It's been a few months since I uploaded anything on the MJxTV channel, and that is because I am kind of taking the channel in a different direction, and this is going to be the start of that. We're going to be looking at more in-depth topics, more narrative scaling, more power scaling, and just videos that are going to be of higher quality with better video editing. So be prepared for that. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are going to love this versus battle. I know a couple of you are going to be like, yeah, it's pretty easy. I don't know why you're doing a video on it, but I still want to talk about it because I love Minato as a character, and I think a lot of people would be interested in this, especially since you look it up and you don't see too many topics on this. Minato versus the Akatsuki. Minato going up against a group that single-handedly targeted Naruto and the Biju and the other Jinchuriki. So I think for a good narrative battle, it makes a lot of sense. You have the, you know, the big daddy coming in, just slapping his cock on the table, you know. So should be a fun battle.
Okay.
And joining me today on the channel is someone new, someone who hasn't been.
Another thing I'll also say, I wouldn't necessarily say this is an easy topic. I wouldn't fully agree on that. Okay, it depends on how you basically show the arguments, how you get into it. At the end of the day, you're talking about the Akatsuki. The Akatsuki are very, very fucking powerful people. So, at the end of the day, if you're putting this guy up against the entire Akatsuki, and remind you, Minato fought against one of them, which was Obito. Okay, and that was a very tough battle for him. Now he has to fight him and along with everyone else. Like, that's a big deal. Okay, like don't be sleeping on him. Koski's no joke, especially Zetsu. So let's put that out there. But let's see what's gonna happen. Obviously, just from the tone of the video, it's more in favor for Minato, and they're more likely going to be, really scaling him pretty high and providing the evidence and talking about it and why he more likely just basically speed blitz and destroys everyone. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to be their main goal and focus of the video. But let's see what they say, what they discuss, and I am curious. But just putting that out there, though.
Here before, but who's making his way on YouTube, and that is my boy Six.
Hello, everyone. I'm a Minato tard, so.
At least he admits it.
Just gonna be a lot of like wank going off in this video. But
Yes, sir.
And that's what I was gonna say too. They're clearly gonna wank this character as high as possible in order to pull this type of a feat, because at the end of the day, this would be some like Hashirama or Madara type shit, So.
I guess, first of all, let's just talk about Minato really quick. I'll do a quick intro and then you can discuss him, and then we'll jump into the gauntlet. Of course, we'll be running the Akatsuki from weakest to strongest, and just bear with us on this video. This is a collab video. This is not a video essay. We're not going to be going in depth on like why Kisame is stronger than like Deidara. We're not going to be like going hardcore on the differences between each character.
And that's another thing. I'm pretty sure they're going to specify, but like, is it Minato versus all of them at the same time, or is it one-on-one? So.
Just a rough estimate of weakest to strongest. So with Minato, we have to understand the lore of this character. He is, like, in the beginning of Naruto, stated to be like the champion of Konoha. There's like this weird looming idea that like he's the best, and obviously things change later in the story where we get more information on Hashirama and stuff, but Minato is regarded as being one of the strongest, if not the strongest in Konoha, being compared to Hiruzen, if not even stronger than that. You even have Jiraiya early on in the series, post-shooting exams, just wanking off Minato, saying he's a character who has unparalleled talent. This guy was just overflowing with jutsu and talent, and he's just an absolute beast of a shinobi, and what every shinobi should aspire to be. So just bear with us on that. You're a huge fan of Minato, so why don't you talk about him and how he scales? Obviously, just a little estimate of like where you put him, and then we'll jump into the Akatsuki.
A little estimate of where I put him. I guess I would put him around KCM2 Naruto level in terms of speed. Since
fair. I like
that's
that.
who Kakashi sees Minato as. Like, they're kind of like a rival in that aspect, right? Like, Minato used to show up on battlefields to save Kakashi during like the Third War and whatnot, and you know, when he was Hokage. And then when Naruto shows up in KCM2 and he's got the long cloak, Kakashi's like, master? You know what I'm saying? So like, Minato's around like KCM2 level in speed, maybe even faster. But that's like a good gauge right there. That's strong enough to beat anyone in the Akatsuki. That's how fast I think he is. And then you could just say like KCM2 Naruto is obviously over KCM1. And then KCM1 Naruto from a narrative aspect is stronger than Sage Mode, considering, it's the power he needed to master in order to help take down Sasuke, overcome hatred, things like that. So KCM1 would be over Sage Mode, and then, you can scale Sage Mode Naruto to a lot of Akatsuki characters as well, like Pain and whatnot. But yeah, I don't really think anyone in the Akatsuki is getting on Minato's level in terms of speed. Like we obviously saw.
Ads on YouTube must be so annoying, but with 3 clicks, you can install an ad blocker and you'll never see ads
we got the handy dandy ads.
Like Edo Itachi, who you can say is even stronger than his alive self, who was keeping up with just KCM1 Naruto.
One interesting character to bring up is Jiraiya, and you actually discussed this in a recent video that you did where you talked about Jiraiya's showcasing against Pain. Now, a lot of people look at that fight and they're like, yeah, man, like Pain just like fondled him. But like when you really think about it, if he had like stood up.
So before they even get to that, so what from Six basically stated in the beginning, absolutely, Minato is no fucking joke, and Kakashi clearly has memories of him as a Jonin, as the Yellow Flash, and with his legendary reputation, you name it. And overall, when then it gets to the war arc, and then you have 4th Hokage Minato, who would basically have the speed of KCM2 Naruto, and people are like, wait a minute, whoa, like, where the fuck are you getting that at, you know? But then again, it's actually very believable, because when you analyze Minato as the Yellow Flash, okay, there is constant references and constant comparisons to Naruto, and statements by other characters, whether it's the Raikage, Tsunade, Yamato, Killer B, you name it. And they always refer KCM1 Naruto's level of speed to Minato, Yellow Flash. But then when we see Naruto acquire KCM2, his next transformation of power and speed and everything, it's showing Minato. And Kakashi is like Sensei. Okay, he doesn't say, oh wow, Yellow Flash or, you know, anything like that. No, he just says Sensei and is showing the 4th Hokage. Okay, and then, you know, KCM2 Naruto and everything, clearly implying a narrative implication, etc., so on and so forth, that this is the level of 4th Hokage Minato. Meaning that you could even argue that Minato is KCM2 level just as 4th Hokage, which is in-fucking insane. Because then if you consider Sage Mode as more amp and stacked, and then imagine him having KCM as well, it's just absolutely insane. So, absolutely, that's a really good perspective to kind of put into things. Then with the hype statements and all that of him just being on a whole other category and class and caliber as a shinobi, you name it, yada yada. It's really, really interesting. So I do like that so far. That's pretty good. And other than that, let's kind of see what else they're getting into. Now, from what they're discussing currently, I already am getting the feeling that they're trying to downplay Pain and kind of like downscale him due to, like, you know, the whole Jiraiya thing and all that. Now, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna listen to it, and I'm pretty sure I already know what they're about to say. That's a bunch of bullshit. Okay, that's more of like a downplaying statement for Nagato and more out of respect for Jiraiya because he was his master and his teacher and etc. And he was kind of just, you know, wanking Jiraiya himself and just be like, maybe he could have probably done it or whatever. But at the end of the day, Jiraiya was struggling with 3 paths of pains. Couldn't do absolutely anything until, because of the 2 frogs, not because of him, were able to do a hack space Sage Genjutsu that only immobilized the 3 paths of pains, and then Nagato was able to bring them back to life, pull up, and just destroy him, okay? And that was it, you know? So, overall, he didn't stand a fucking chance against Pain. He got absolutely destroyed by Pain, okay? And Pain wasn't even going full out. He wasn't bloodthirsted. He wasn't, like, going absolute try-hard. He was kind of just toying around with his prey and just kind of fucking with him and roasting his shit and talking crap about, like, how much of a disappointment he is and how the world sucks and blah 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 and how he's a god and yada yada, like just talking his shit, and effortlessly defeated Jiraiya. So overall, like, that's absolutely, like, you know what I mean, Jiraiya got absolutely fucking stomped. Pain is a whole other fucking level. Just how Itachi stomped Orochimaru instantly, you know what I mean, Pain's just, he's just like that. He's built different. So regardless of the disrespect that they're going to do for Pain, you know what I mean, other than that, that's kind of like that with Jiraiya. And so I already can tell they're going to try to maybe like downscale Pain because since he was struggling with Jiraiya, therefore, you know, like Minato was just completely like shit or whatever. And at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you this right now. That ain't the case. Okay? Like, Pain's no joke. Nagato is a really powerful person. And this argument right here with Jiraiya, that's not really a good approach in trying to make it justified or at least believable of why Minato would just stomp Nagato or the passive pains. That's a little weird, okay? But before we get into that, you know, let's just kind of listen out and let it play.
Up against all 6 paths without being off guard, and he still had Mom Paw on his shoulders with Sage Mode. There's a good argument to be made that he probably could have won that fight, and that's even kind of implied to some level of extent by Pain himself or Nagato. So yes. Yeah, and if that's the case, you have a character like Jiraiya, right, who actually boxed with Minato before he became the Hokage. Now, whether you want to take the game continuities into account, most likely to not, something like that probably did happen. And if you take that into consideration, like, Jiraiya has like high praise of Minato. Like, even he's saying himself that like no one could fuck with this guy. You know what I mean? And then obviously he beat up like an old man Hiruzentu, who would be even younger than he was in the fight with Orochimaru. So another good argument to kind of put this out of the window too is Zetsu had the whole fucking thing with Pain as well. He literally said it was inconceivable for Pain to ever fucking lose a fight. That he was invincible and that nobody could be able to pull that feat off or whatever.
You know what I mean? And mind you, this is coming from a guy that has eons of fucking knowledge. He's been around for decades. Okay, the will of Kaguya Usuki, okay, knowledge of the aliens, you know what I mean? First humans, then ninja, then chakra, then all of it. You know what I mean? And he's over here stating that, nah, there's no way this man loses. He's just too powerful, blah, blah, this and that. Like, it's just crazy. So, but then, obviously, throughout the story, eventually Pain gets defeated, and then Naruto does his talk no jutsu, and then Nagato kind of gives his life and blah, blah. So, at the end of the day, characters can talk a lot of, stuff about, whatever, a certain character and, hype them up or whatever and this and that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that it's absolute. I'm just putting that out there because there's been plenty of examples in Naruto where characters are deemed as, legendary or this or that. And the next thing you know, they die or they end up falling or they lose or whatever the case may be. So, just putting that out there. But it's a good argument, but it's not absolute. That's all I'm saying. It is contentious, and you can be able to go against it if you wanted to. There's plenty of examples.
Stronger than the 5 Kage.
Yeah, stronger than the 5 Kage. So again, that just goes to show that Minato should be on a level that most of the Akatsuki really isn't fucking with, So, with that being said, that's a rough estimate of Minato. Pretty darn powerful, I would say. So
yes.
let's get into the Akatsuki. So Hidan.
I mean, he just gets washed.
Yeah. I told you off air that Hidan would be someone like that one random shinobi from that war when like Minato like pops up behind him and like he's sweating and it's like run on sight.
Yeah,
with
he's got the kunai to his neck. Yeah.
Bro, that's so fucking true though. He's not wrong about that. So I'm assuming he's talking about all individually, like one at a time. I don't think they're talking about at the same time. Because I didn't know if that's what this video was going to be, whether if it was all of them at the same time or if it was one-on-one.
Just cuts his head off.
Like, that would just be it.
Taking someone's head off isn't even, like, out of character for Minato. We see this in a lot of his fights. He's an extremely bloodlusted guy, and he values, like, killer instinct in shinobi. He says this to B. So when he goes to, like, attack A from behind in the Third War, he's going for his head. Then when he teleports behind B, he's going for his head. The first thing he does to Obito when Obito is sneaking up behind him is go for his head. He obviously like slashes Obito's throat in the Fourth War when he's in KCM. So he just fights very bloodlusted anyway. So taking Hidan's head off is extremely in character and something he'd likely do.
So moving on from him, let's go up to the Sasori and Deidara rank. What do you think happens there? Do you think the puppet master, bro? Do you think the one who's a rival to Orochimaru is taking down Minato? What do you think?
Not at all. So Sasori, even if you don't think he's like a Sakura level threat, right? You can definitely make the argument, and it's fairly backed up, that Sakura can at least perceive what Sasori is doing and react to his attacks. However, when she runs into Hebi Sasuke pre-Orochimaru absorption in just his base form, not even his 3-Tomo Sharingan, he's able to just completely speed blitz her. Whenever he goes down to Naruto, she looks at him, she's like, when did he even move? So he completely speed blitzed her. So you could say Sasuke scales over Sasori through that. And then Sasuke in the Kage Summit actually scales to the Raikage, who's slower than Minato. So you could say that.
So one thing that's weird with this is it's interesting because technically, to be fair, Sakura was only really dodging due to Chiyo with the fucking puppet strings and and whatnot and etc. And then when Sasori used the fucking third Kazekage puppet, then she finally got hit by the black sand because there's just so many attacks. Not even Chiyo's strings could really do anything. So I'm putting that out there. And then second, they're talking about how Sasuke completely speed blitzed Sakura. It's Sakura, for God's sake. But then you have Sasuke fighting against Deidara. And Sasuke went at full speed. And Deidara was still able to dodge him. And Obito just used Kamui. You know what I mean? And then Sasuke's just like fighting Deidara the whole time, whatever. You know what I mean? And whatnot. And that was it. And Deidara is, you could obviously say Sasori's more likely over Deidara and whatnot and everything. That's fine, but they're close to each other. They can be relative, and at the end of the day, they're pretty, on par in the same way, narratively, and just from what we've seen as well, So, and Deidara even says Sasori's stronger than him. And if Sasuke as Hebi is struggling against, well, not really struggling, but having a pretty good of his hands full of a fight with Deidara, it's weird to try to establish this scaling of an argument, if that makes any sense. So I don't think that's really too good to be able to try to link back to Minato as an upscale or to why, whatever. Don't get me wrong, Minato would be able to blitz Sasori and hit on at the end of the fucking day in Deidara, but this right here, I don't think that's strong at all.
Sasori is just getting speed blitzed. Like, he wouldn't have anything to do.
Yeah, and the same would go for Deidara because it is implied, I believe stated, right, that
yes.
Sasori is stronger than him. Now, whether or not you want to debate about that, that's up to you, but the point being, and Seth and I have talked about this before with Swag, that like, even though Orochimaru is within Sasuke, you can somewhat imply that it may not be that big of an amp, that it more so like regeneration, poison resistance. Maybe he did get a power boost, but nonetheless, like, Deidara is still not really doing much to him, even without the Orochimaru amps anyway. So it's like, yeah, if that's the case, then Minato is just blitzing both Deidara and Sasori. Like, Deidara wouldn't really even have any time to comprehend any sort of bomb to combat him. Like, whether you want to talk AP, that's not even the point. The point is he wouldn't even have a chance to do it. It's just,
yeah, exactly.
It would be over with.
Negged.
Yeah.
Keep the facts top of the mind. Incredible.
It would just be
like,
over with.
Even if you wanted to say that Deidara was stronger than Sasori, like, you could literally still apply that same scaling I mentioned, because Hebi Sasuke is right there, like, scaling to Deidara or above him.
Moving on to, I guess, like, the middleman, right? It will be like, what, Kakuzu, Konan.
Yeah, so Konan got whooped by Jiraiya, like, easily. Like, Jiraiya like finessed her paper jutsu, and then he just spit oil on her and wrapped her up. So, like, Minato is stronger than Jiraiya, so Konan would kind of just, like, die. The only other thing Konan really has is, like, her feats against Obito with loads and loads of prep time that don't really count, because for one, Obito's like underestimating her, and two, like I said, the prep time, so she doesn't really have anything like scaling even to Jiraiya level, so she would just get negged, like, honestly.
And that's fine, to be honest. What's it called? You could easily be able to, like, yeah, she'd more likely get speed blitz and just kind of whoop. Like, at the end of the day, if she can't even fucking dodge Jiraiya's fucking oil, and all that, like, pretty sure Minato's gonna be speed blitzing her shit. Now, if we're talking about, like, a prep Konan, that wouldn't really do anything either, because Minato can just teleport away. You know what I mean? Like, so the 6 billion feet thing kind of goes out the window as well. That was only truly effective on Obito. You know what I mean? So, could she maybe figure out a way to how to prep it and be able to figure out a way to fight against Minato? Maybe, but it's very fucking unlikely. And at the end of the day, with his teleportation and everything and speed and whatnot, I just don't see it happening. So yeah, that's fine. That's not really a big deal. So
what about Kakuzu, the most deadliest member of the Akatsuki?
So even like, so Kakuzu in his strongest form, right? His little Jugon mode or whatever. His strongest form, he gets hurt by that incomplete Rasen Shuriken that Naruto uses. Not the one that kills him. The one Naruto uses that fizzles out. When he actually hits Kakuzu with it, you can see Kakuzu like grimacing in pain, right?
Yeah.
And then the completed Rasen Shuriken, I know there's like contingents surrounding this statement, but just say we use it to say that it's equal to Minato for now. The completed Rasen Shuriken obviously just shreds him apart. So Minato would literally just destroy Kakuzu. Like,
absolutely.
If you want to bring up something like diamond armor, doesn't really matter, because Minato could just speed blitz him.
Yeah, he could just speed blitz, and then not only that, Kakashi's Raikiri was able to defeat it. Fucking the Rasen Shuriken, like, pretty sure Kakuzu would probably try to use diamond armor against that if he thought it would actually work. But nah, he didn't even do that. You know what I mean? Like, And meaning either considering that he didn't think that wouldn't make a difference, or he just wasn't fast enough. And overall, you're talking about that Naruto in comparison with Minato, yeah. Like, Kakuzu's getting speed blitz in one shot.
He only has scaling to like small QB influence Naruto, where Minato just has much higher scaling.
Before we jump into the stronger characters like Kisame and Pain and Obito, I also want to address something real quick because a lot of those characters do have the ability to absorb chakra. So before we get into that, I want to discuss Minato's chakra levels and like his stamina problem, because people seem to think he has one, and I'll let Six talk about
Absolutely not. This man has insane, like, bro, I mean, like, this man has crazy amount of stamina and chakra, bro. Like, if you actually really analyze the Nine Tails incident, he's using a lot of fucking chakra, bro. So I really hope they kind of give him justice on that.
Point in a second when
I'm
it comes
assuming
to
they
that,
will.
But I also want to bring up something that we were discussing off air, and that's the Flying Thunder formation. People have to remember that the Flying Raijin was taught to this team, this unit specifically made to like guard Minato, so he had to teach them that technique, and it requires 3 casters who make a circle to perform the seal, right? And then it says that there's a large amount of complex chakra that comes in to make the transformation required, because you have to traverse space.
This is also really good. I even downloaded this stuff as for evidence for Minato as well. But I'm actually really glad they're talking about this, because when I was reviewing Naruto Shippuden, the entire manga and everything, this really hit to me. Because the fact that it takes 3 high-level Jonin ninja to fucking do the Flying Raijin, and Minato's doing that shit by himself over and over and over, that's insane.
Space and time, right? So it takes 3 casters to do it, 3 chakra levels, right? 3 people, but Minato can do it on his own. So this idea that like Minato doesn't have like that much chakra, or he has like a stamina issue, shouldn't really be an issue when it comes to this battle. But I'll let you talk.
Yeah, another thing about Minato's stamina or chakra reserves is that he has perfect Sage Mode, and in order to use Sage Mode in the first place, Paul says that you need a large chakra supply.
Yeah.
So there's another way to see he has a large chakra supply. And he is able to teleport away like the entire Nine Tails and its BG bombs, and still have chakra to like do the Reaper Death Seal and things like that. So
right, and then still have confidence in battling Obito, who he assumes is fucking Madara Uchiha. So it's like, yeah. So let's get into Kisame though. So, what do you think about him?
Kisame is a weird one. So there's actually a weird argument you could use to say that Kisame is actually below Deidara, because Kisame goes to capture B and then he fails, like he gets beaten,
right?
And then Kabuto sends Edo Tensei Deidara to Turtle Island to capture B, where Kisame failed at. So you could say that
well, one thing I will say, I'm gonna say this right now. This is a really weak and weird argument for me. Okay, Kisame shitted on B. I don't know what he mean by failed. He only failed because the Raikage came and helped B. So I don't know what that's all about. Okay, he completely shitted on Killer B. Absolutely destroyed him. Okay, and then Deidara lost to Heavy Sasuke and was being bullied by Sasuke, in my opinion. And mind you, Sasuke was holding back. Okay, at first he tried to kill him in the beginning, but he was able to be fast enough and dodge. But then, while Sasuke is having his 1v1 with Deidara, he is technically holding back, and he'd stated multiple times. And the reason why is because he's trying to get intel on where Itachi Uchiha is. He needs at least one of them to be alive in order to do that. Okay, so, and still beat him, and made him rage quit, basically. So I don't know about all that. Now, could Deidara pull the W on fucking, what's it called? God damn it, I'm having a freaking brain
obviously moment. Kabuto's not going to have him use
Kisame. Could he pull a W on Kisame? yes, obviously, if he did, especially if he does like his fucking C4 or that ability where it's like microscopic and and all that, it's like a hacks-based explosion ability. Yes, sure, but at the end of the day, like fucking Kisame, if he's like bloodthirsty and like being legit and serious, and wants to kind of charge or immediately do like his water prison or water style transformation or Biju transformation and all that, he would more than likely lose because this guy would get shitted on by Killer B. Okay, so like, could he give Killer B like like throw some explosions, whatever, whatnot? Sure, but Killer B would more likely just fucking blitz him and just kill him. Like Killer B was crazy powerful, yet Kisame was able to react, fight against him, steal all his chakra, and just bully him. So, yeah, I don't know about all that.
Use C3 because it would destroy the 8 tails and he needs him.
Yeah.
So you could use that to say that Deidara might be like B level or Kisame level, like that tier of fighter.
Right.
And if that's the case, we already explained how Minato would run through fucking Deidara. So he would just run through Kisame as well. And if you want to bring up like Kisame scaling to V1B or something like that and like link it to the Raikage to some extent, for one, you could say B was training on Turtle Island, so he doesn't scale to himself from the Kisame fight. And then even if you still wanted to go with the argument, Kisame doesn't ever actually scale to V1B. It's all Samehada. After Samehada takes a liking to B's chakra because of the octopus flavor, he starts fighting alongside Kisame and like dodging for him and things like that. Yeah. So it's possible that none of that scales to Kisame.
The main reason is it's mainly Samehada. That's why he's so powerful. If he didn't have Samehada, he would have got absolutely fucking destroyed by Killer B. I do agree with that.
Minato would just kind of...
But that's the point, though. If you are talking about Kisame with Samehada, he's a beast.
Steamrolling.
Kisame seems more of like a brawler anyways, which we kind of see. So it's like there's not like much like hacks there either. So as long as Minato has like greater speeds than him, I don't really see him doing much to Minato, So yeah. So there's that. Now here's like the juicy part of the conversation. Like this is where like everyone's cocks are gonna get wet. So Itachi, Pain, and Obito, right? I guess we'll start with Itachi first because he's a sick boy, and we'll go over him. I mean, he's dying, bro. So just GG. I think that's all we have to say.
Yeah, he's gonna cough himself to death.
No, but an interesting way to look at this, and I was talking to Six about this. Now, obviously, he's probably gonna have his own argument for this, but I brought up like a very weird way to kind of scale Minato above Itachi, and that's like Edo Madara, who, when he cast his full power, right, which he believes is his perfect Susanoo, he's like, oh yeah, this is like the ultimate danger. It's like Biju level, right? And we know that he's most familiar with the Nine Tails, so you could say he's comparing his perfect Susanoo to the Nine Tails, and then like you just have Minato like I'm literally shell shocked after witnessing his wife like just get completely mollywopped after her birth, still with enough confidence and calm cool to just stand in front of the Nine Tails and deflect his tail beast bomb. So I really don't see Minato standing across the battlefield from Itachi sweating like at all. Like I really don't see him like at all like being scared of him whatsoever. Like I don't think there's really much Itachi could do, but you can go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, so I did bring up one way you could say Minato is over Itachi a bit earlier in the video by him over KCM 2 over KCM 1 to Itachi, like Edo Itachi who scales over his sick counterpart.
Yeah.
But another way you could go about doing it is in the third data book. It actually says that Naruto is the only shinobi that can surpass Minato, in which you could say obviously Itachi is a shinobi, so Itachi can't surpass Minato. The only real counter to that statement is people like Hashirama and Madara or whatever, right? But you could just say it holds true up to the time of the third data book, in which Itachi is dead, like sick Itachi's listed there. So that would just be another way to get Minato like directly over Itachi. Another way is if you use novel canon, you can say Minato over Obito, and then Itachi in the novel actually looks at Obito and says that he's got the most powerful chakra of any ninja he's ever seen, which would obviously include himself.
Yeah.
So
well, that's when he was like a kid though and everything. So that's kind of ratty to kind of talk about. You can't really compare Kid Itachi to fucking Obito in the fucking yellow mask. That's just stupid. But
Yeah.
you know, Obito over Itachi, and I know people who read the novel are gonna bring up this statement where it says that the Obito and Itachi acknowledge each other as opponents. This doesn't really mean anything for scaling because all acknowledging.
so that right there, that's a big deal and that's important. So they can't ignore this. Right now they're gonna pull a Noodles moment. No offense, but they're gonna pull a Noodles right now because it's fucking Itachi and it's not their favorite character or whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, this is just one form of evidence, clearly showing that Itachi would scale over Obito and blah blah this and that and yada yada and you name it. Okay, they're gonna dismiss it and they're gonna explain why or whatever. But at the end of the day, like that is good evidence. This is literally from Kishimoto himself,
Someone as an opponent,
and it's backed up and it's supported narratively, consistently, and throughout Naruto as well.
is literally just that, like, oh, we're on opposite sides of one another.
Yeah.
You don't have to be equal to someone or relative to be recognized as an opponent by them, and there's nothing to imply that anyway. So
Also, too, like,
Yeah,
just
that's not true either. Yeah, everything he just said right there was completely ignorant and dishonest. That's going to be the main disagreement point probably of this video. But yeah, no, there's plenty of evidence. Plenty. So, like, if I was literally in a debate with 6 right now, I could be able to show plenty of shit proving of why that's just not the fucking case. So, that is very, very debatable.
going back to what you and I were discussing in the earlier part of this video, where like Jiraiya is just jerking off Minato and he's like, as a shinobi, he's the greatest. His capacity was unparalleled. He was literally one of a kind. He was overflowing with power and talent and intelligence. And it's like,
yeah,
if that's the case, Jiraiya definitely puts Minato on a higher pedestal than even his own master Hiruzen. And like both of like these characters, Hiruzen, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, are all very much aware of Itachi, and especially Hiruzen.
this is after he ran into Itachi as well.
So it's like Minato's definitely put on a higher pedestal than Itachi, at least going off of lore. So, you know.
Yeah.
The next one,
And I do agree with that, but that'll be more on like the understanding and the calibers that Jiraiya himself believes these ninja to be. Because you got to remember, that's the thing in Naruto. Each character has their own, you know, beliefs and their own like rankings of who's over who, blah blah, this and that, you know. And at the end of the day, that's why it's the whole thing of downplay statements, or better yet, there's statements that are actually debatable and not actually true because they're either contradicted in the show later or whatever, and this and that. So all because one character believes someone's absolute or invincible or whatever, yada yada, this and that, doesn't mean that's the case. You know, all because they have a high appraisal, you know, or high hopes, or whatever the case may be, it's not absolute. So I'm just putting that out there. That is very arguable, and that's not really a strong argument in my opinion either. It helps. It's supportive at least. And obviously, if you show more and more and more trying to provide consistency or whatever and this and that, there you go. But either way, like, that's not necessarily the case. At the end of the day, if you truly actually analyze Itachi as a character, he's no fucking joke. He's very, very powerful, and he's ridiculously very talented and genius shinobi. That's without a fucking doubt. And then not only that, you know what I mean? Like, it's just that simple. Like, at the end of the day, if Minato fought against Obito and briefly struggled, didn't like really, really struggle, but briefly, okay, and Obito was scared of Itachi and intimidated by Itachi, and there's plenty of evidence to prove that, you know what I mean? And clearly indicating that they're either, you know, rivals or that Itachi is over Obito, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense for Minato to have a tough time with Obito, which he even states that himself, okay? And then now Itachi just gets bodied. Like, that's just stupid, you know what I mean? Like, no. But yeah, we'll just kind of leave it at that, though.
Would be, well, Obito's interesting because you brought up something kind of funny about that, but we'll talk about that in a little bit, I guess. We'll go over Pain real quick. So,
Yeah.
What do you think Pain would be able to do against Minato?
Nothing. Pain is slow. Pain is really slow. Like, you can scale him to like I don't know, maybe like Kakashi level, but that's not anything compared to Minato level, as we know with like, you know, KCM2 later on in the war arc and whatnot.
Yeah.
So like Kakashi and Pain being relative is really nothing. And then you could say that Sage, Naruto, and Pain are somewhat relative when all 6 paths are out.
Right.
To say that, you know, Minato is just faster than all the Pains. And then this sort of gets into Obito scaling, but not really. But Minato thinks Obito is more of a threat than Pain anyway. So the whole thing is he's telling Naruto to, you know, go out there, beat Pain. He's got Sage mode and whatnot. But he still thinks that Naruto needs to master the full 9 tails in order to take down Obito. And he'd obviously be talking about the 14-year-old Obito that he fought.
Yeah.
And he's telling Naruto this, so it would obviously imply like Obito is a bigger threat than Pain. And
like he's telling him he needs.
So that's a good statement. So they're talking about when Minato is having the conversation with Naruto after the Pain fight and everything. And that isn't like, you know what I mean? It's not like they're being ratty or dishonest or anything like that. So that did happen. That is a thing. But see, like I said, this is back to the whole thing with Jiraiya. You know what I mean? All because this character clearly thinks whatever, yada, yada, this and that, doesn't mean it's absolute. That is consistently shown in Naruto that 9 times out of 10, because a character, because of their thought process or what they think or whatever, 9 times out of 10, that is not the case depending on certain variables or conditions or who we're even talking to begin with. Like, point proven, you know what I mean? Like, he could say this all he wants, but then again, you know, fucking Nagato has the Rinnegan, which is superior dojutsu to Obito, and all his powers and hacks abilities, you name it, along with control over the Geto statue, you know what I mean? Along with along with Konan, you know, being at his side, you name it, all these other things that he's not putting into consideration, okay, of why Nagato, or aka the Passive Pains, would even remotely be a threat to Obito as well, or stronger, okay? Like, if Konan was able to do it, you know what I mean? Like, yes, it's prep, whatever, but regardless, even like not even considering the prep, she still pressed Obito without prep too, and was able to harm him. So like, you know, like, and then people are like, throw the excuse and, oh, well, he just underestimated her. Oh, he's holding back because he needs to know where the Rinnegan, whatever. At the end of the day, all because you're holding back doesn't mean you're going to slow yourself down. You're still going to move as fast as possible, just obviously not kill them. You just want to immobilize them or restrain them. And clearly she had enough speed to push Obito and then catch him off guard, because not only did he underestimate her, but she had a jutsu under her sleeve with an explosion with paper bombs, and he was trying to Kamui her, and it was backfiring, and he had to basically take the explosion and Kamui away the rest of it, and he took just minimum amount of damage. So overall, like, you know what I mean, like, you know, so like I said, I'm not going to get fully into it. Either way, it's very contentious. You can easily argue this. Okay, someone's statement doesn't mean it's absolute. It has to be backed up and be consistent. That's what I'm trying to say. If there's contradictions, or better yet, certain conditions that can be a factor of why that is not the case, that is something you have to put into consideration. So either way, okay, that right there just goes out the fucking window. That's not true. Okay. And then not only that, literally all the things that they just discussed about Pain, of why he's slow or blah blah, they're literally showing feats or things that happen in the show while this man is severely fatigued, tired, drained, and just pulled off a shit ton of insane ass fucking feats. Okay, like for instance, Obito is gonna destroy the whole Hidden Leaf Village with a Tail Beast Bomb. Tendo Pain did it with just his ability alone. Do you see where I'm getting at? Like, it's really stupid to just, like, have a certain scaling system and just be like, oh, well, because this statement, therefore, now that means it. And that's just not how that works. It's never how Naruto's been illustrated. There's conditions, there's factors, okay? And it's happened many, many times where certain characters can not only beat characters that are either stronger than them, whether if it's teamwork or intel or X, Y, and Z, whatever the fuck it is, it has happened, okay? So I don't fully agree with that. That's a little weird. That's not really a strong argument in my opinion. but I see why they're presenting it, and it does make sense, at least from a logical perspective. But either way, at the end of the day, if I like, for instance, myself, if I truly had to scale Pain's speed, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to do that. You can't really quantify Pain, and that's the fucking problem, because he has all these feats, but he's doing all these feats while he's tired and exhausted. So it's like, it's really hard to like actually pinpoint how powerful and how strong he is if we're referring to him at his max and without handicap conditions and then intel and this and that and yada yada yada. Like it's just really, really dumb. Noodles does also, like, there's another guy called Noodles that does the same exact thing, to where he'll literally look at certain feats that Pain's performing, and that's only happening due to certain conditions in the show of Naruto, not because like that's what he can only do. And so it's ignorant to claim that, oh, this is this character's level or this and that, yet there was reasons for that, if that makes any sense. It's like me running a track marathon, okay, and then now I'm being asked to do a sprint, like a fucking 100-meter sprint, and to go as fast as I can, and bam, I have that time limit, compared to me being at full max amount of power, stamina, you ready to go, training, you name it, and then I do a 100-meter sprint. Obviously, that one's going to be more better and faster, right? That's the same exact concept you're dealing with in Naruto. So, that just doesn't work, but let's continue.
He needs to get stronger to take care of him. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Minato obviously, like, beat up Obito badly. So, he would kind of just beat up Pain.
Another way to look at it, too, is...
He did beat Obito, but he did struggle briefly. It wasn't like a stomp.
Pain, Tendo Pain, boxing with the Six Tails, and then, like, obviously we know that when Nagato focuses more of his chakra into a singular Pain, that's where, like, they start to, like, become comparable to Nagato because he's not having to separate his chakra. So, like, when you have, like, that Pain boxing the Six Tails, and then you have Minato, who was like literally standing across the battlefield from the fucking full Nine Tails, not half of it, just full, and he was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and take care of this. Save the village real quick. So,
well, to be fair, he did that with his space-time hacks ability. He didn't actually do that with his Rasengan or with his body. Pain, on the other hand, was doing that shit with his body. Okay? You know what I mean? Like, and actually fighting. Like, at the end of the day, you can talk all your shit you want right now with this, but this is a weak comparison. Because technically, if I wanted to be petty, Minato, okay, fucking has never been shown to fight against a V2 Six Tails Biju form. Never, ever has he been shown to throw hands with someone like that. Instead, what he would do would either he would use his Flying Raijin to dodge, he would use, this ability to teleport any of the attacks it does, he would maybe try to slam a massive Rasengan or Rasengan on it, you know what I mean? But he would never just straight up be doing like taijutsu and dodging with just his speed alone. Like, that's, that's really, so if anything, Pain has more impressive feats and showings because Minato was, running up and having to deal with Obito, but he never had to deal with a fucking V2 Six Tails transformation just with his body alone. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys see what I'm saying, like, instead, Minato has to resort to using his teleportation or hacks abilities and all that, or his Rasengan, you know what I mean? And you could even argue that his kunai could be able to do some damage as well. That I won't say he can't, but either way, like, it's just, I don't know about all that, because at the end of the day, Tendo Pain was literally his body boxing, blocking, and fighting against a V2 Six Tails transformation. And that is a feat and impressive of its own. Okay, you literally just cannot disagree with that. Yes, he dealt with the full power of the Nine Tails, a Tail Beast Bomb, okay? But guess what Tendo Pain tanked? He tanked a Tail Beast Bomb point blank to the fucking face. Do you think Minato would be able to tank a Tail Beast Bomb to the fucking face? Yes, it's a weaker Tail Beast Bomb, but no, hell no, he wouldn't be able to tank. Instead, in character, he would do a Flying Raijin. Now, if he's like in Sage mode, you could be able to argue he could be able to tank that, okay, or in KCM, but not in base. So overall, like, you know, that's what I'll say on that for now. But like I said, when I eventually do a Pain versus Minato video, it'll be a very interesting video, and it'll be basically me being neutral and kind of on the side of both sides. But you know, Pain's no fucking joke. He's really, really powerful. So I don't truly agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really see Pain really doing anything to him, at least, you know, like that. So I guess Obito, bro, do you want to bring up like your quick little way for Minato to defeat Obito if they rematched?
Yeah, so Obito still got the seal on his back from when Minato like first tagged him, and the way Minato does this to like Rinnegan Obito is he just teleports to it and slashes his throat open. And he does this to 14 Obito as well. Not a lot of people notice this, but when he teleports to him to like put the contract seal on him, he also like stabs him in his liver. So right. Obito kind of just can't do anything. It's kind of unfair for him, but I mean, that's his fault. He shouldn't have got tagged.
Hey, he's not wrong
like,
on that.
Is there any experience factor? Maybe like the same trick won't work twice? Not really, right? Because he's still marked.
Yeah, he's still marked. Like, he can't do anything. It worked twice, actually. Like, he cut his throat open when he was on top of the juvie.
You're right. It did work twice. Holy shit. Yeah, okay, I guess Obito's getting negged too. GG.
Like, Obito is strong. He's just at a disadvantage because of the seal.
It's a bad matchup, yeah. Yeah. It'd be different if like it was their first fight and like Minato was fighting this older Obito right off the bat. Maybe he would have a better understanding to counter. So what about like Zetsu?
Come on, bro.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So even though they kind of laughed and memed about that, okay, Zetsu's actually really strong. Okay, like I'm gonna shut that down as well. Like at the end of the day, I love me some Six, swag, sets, whatever. But at the end of the fucking day, guys, I'm gonna be the first one to call bullshit if I see something or don't like something I hear. Okay, I already had a whole video on Zetsu of how is he potentially the strongest Akatsuki member. Zetsu is no fucking joke. Zetsu was able to contend against KCM Naruto, 6 Paths Sasuke in Naruto. Okay, and able to fucking immobilize 6-Path KCM Naruto, Sagema Naruto, and Sasuke. Okay, was able to immobilize and deal with Rinnegan Obito. Okay, was able to one-shot 6 Paths fucking Madara with 3 eyes in the divine tree inside of him. Okay, pierce him and fucking immobilize him, and then force him to transform into Kaguya. Okay, like the guy is a beast. And if you actually analyze his data book statements, his hacks abilities, and everything he can really do, he's kind of like Marvel's Venom. Like, he's pretty fucking strong. So, you know, at the end of the day, as much as I love Minato and whatnot, yeah, his speed and all that, etc. is insane and whatnot. At the end of the day, if Zetsu, you know, fucking is underground and whatnot and doing his, like, you know, his transportation technique and everything, he's not going to be able to sense him. That's the problem. Okay? He literally cannot be sensed. And if the spores are on Minato, that's going to be an issue for Minato, which can help to immobilize him, drain his chakra, you name it, and whatnot. You know? And at the end of the day, Zetsu can just appear out of nowhere and stab him in his fucking back while he's caught off guard and kill him. Like, you know, like, Zetsu he's a very ratty-ass fucking fighter. That's the fucking problem. He's not like a straight-up brawler, you know what I mean, to where he's just going to appear and be like, all right, let's go. Even though he could be able to do that if he wanted to, okay? He was able to hold off Minato and Kakashi, technically, as well. And fucking, and was literally competing against KCM Naruto with his wood style and fighting against all those people and everything. Like, he has wood style, you know, you name it. Like, that's just pretty fucking strong. I don't know why a lot of people like to freaking disrespect the character. It's just weird. It's very, very weird when people do that. But regardless, my whole take on the video, it's a good video. There was a lot of certain things that I didn't fully agree with, at least to my prior and current understanding of the character, and certain things that said, or even certain arguments that I thought that were weak, that weren't really strong in my opinion. because they can easily just be countered or argued or, and etc. But that's just my take. It's not a bad video. It's a good video. And overall, I do agree that Minato could be able to take on the majority of the Akatsuki and whatnot. Now, if it's all at the same time, I don't know about that. That's a whole other thing. And I can get into that and whatnot of why that could be a problem and etc. Don't get me wrong. He's a very fast fucking shinobi. With his teleportation and everything. And how powerful he is. But with Obito being there, Pain, and fucking Itachi, along with everybody else, and Zetsu, bro, like, I don't know, bro. That's just weird. You know what I mean? I don't know about all at the same exact time. Now, if it's one-on-one, that's a different story. You know what I mean? Yeah, more likely to be in favor of Minato. He'll get the dub 9 times out of 10, and whatnot. And then, like, if it's Itachi or Pain, I feel like that's actually interesting matchups, and I don't think it would just be a stomp, in my opinion. It would be a pretty cool fight. But like I said, I would have to kind of explain and make a whole video on that and talk about the evidence of why and this and that. But either way, it's a good video. I liked it. I did enjoy it. What's it called? It's not a bad video. Some issues I had with it, but other than that, it's pretty good. So make sure to leave a like. Comment your thoughts down below, guys, of what you think. Do you think Minato could body the entire Akatsuki at the same fucking time? Or do you think he's more better off 1v1 situations and he could be able to beat all of them? Or do you think he can't beat all of them at the same time? Or there's certain people that he would either lose to or win with at least high difficulty? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Subscribe for more content. Subscribe if you guys love the channel. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.